I'd love it if you came to my concert at the Highline Ballroom in New York City on February 27th. Feeling good, guaranteed to leave you feeling good. And I'm speaking with the Rabbi Sol Solomon on Days Gone By here at UNC Radio.
Oh, shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you are feeling good this morning. I know I am feeling really good because we're talking to someone who is coming out with an extended play CD, sort of an album thingy, called Feeling Good. She will also be singing some of those songs and others at the Highline Ballroom on February 27th. And this woman has won a Tony Award. She was Tony nominated for another show called Once on This Island. She's got an Obie Award. She's seen her on TV and the movies as well. Her name is LaChanze. Yes, you know who I'm talking about. And she's with us on the telephone in the neighborhood. So, shalom, LaChanze.
Shalom.
How are you? How are you feeling? You're having a busy day auditioning and rehearsing and doing. What is an average day for you like in the theater community?
Oh my goodness, it starts pretty early, I tell you that much. And we get up and we get our voices warm and then we hit the streets. And today, it was a crazy day for me because I started the day with a rehearsal with my background singers. Then I jetted out for an interview. Then I had an audition, then another interview, and now I'm speaking with you.
Well, this, of course, is the best part of your day.
The best part of my day.
Absolutely. Oh, God, I don't even know where to start, but I'm got to start somewhere. So let's remind everybody that you won a Tony Award in 2006 for the musical version of The Color Purple. Have you seen the recent Color Purple Broadway revival, and what did you think?
I did. I saw it back in November of last year, and I was very impressed. You know, I have to say I had mixed feelings about going to see it because I'm still reveling in the fact that we did it 10 years ago. 10 years ago doesn't seem like a long time to me. People are like, 10 years ago, that's a long time. But to me, it didn't feel that long, so I still was reveling our production. But now, this new production is just so great, so amazing. The talent was fantastic. I just really, really love that they took another perspective of the show and presented it in a way that was for a new audience.
Now, could you watch Celie, the character that you played, done by another actress, and just sit back and watch and get into the show and the character? Or would you go, oh, she's doing it that way, I did it the other way? What were your feelings watching it?
Watching it was very hard, to be honest. Oh. I didn't rush out and get tickets to go see it. My girlfriend took me to see it, and it was difficult to sit and watch because it was a very different production. It was very scaled down, so I had issue with that because our production was truer to the arc of the novel than a reinvented version of it. And while it existed and it was strong, I was waiting for a certain moment that we had presented in our production back in '06. But, I enjoyed watching her performance. I did. I think she's fantastic young talent, and I think we're going to hear a lot from her going forward. I really admire her work. The only thing about that production that I felt was lacking was because it was so scaled down, I missed the characters developing in age, just certain specific things, and maybe because I'm old school and I'm more literal.
Okay.
I need to be guided on how to think of things. But once I got past that, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Nice. Now, the interesting thing is another show that was very important, for one that really put you on the map back in the day, is going to be revived again very soon. Are you looking forward to, or do you have trepidation about the return of Once on This Island?
I am waiting with bated breath for the revival of Once on This Island. Now, that was done so many years ago. The idea of a reinvention of that show is just brilliant to me. Because there are people who have not seen it. And it's a show that I think should still be running on Broadway because it's developed a cult favorite. It's been done in high schools and elementary schools all over the world. I get people that stop me on the street, little Asian girls that say, I was Timon when I was in high school, and I love that about the show. it has that universality to it. So I'm looking forward to that revival.
And when you mention that character, we should tell people that you were Tony nominated for playing that character, Timoon, in the original Once on This Island. So that's kind of great that you have those amazing memories. Do you have amazing memories, though, of your first Broadway show, which was something called Uptown, ... It's Hot?
Yes. Well, that, ironically enough, that was a show that was a summer job when I was working at the Tropicana Hotel one summer from school that went to Broadway.
Whoa.
Talk about a fluke. It was a job that it was a summer job. I was my sophomore. It was ending my sophomore year. I was going into my junior year of college, and I got this job in Atlantic City, working and doing dancing. I was third girl from the left. I was a tap dancer, and I had the huge headpiece on my head and everything, and so I played this dancer. And then the producers came to rehearsal one day and said, "We're taking the show to Broadway." Now, while it was very exciting for me because I got my equity card and I was immediately thrust into the New York audition scene, but it only ran for a weekend.
Yeah, that can't avoid. They're not going to be reviving that one anytime soon unless they do it at the York Theater or something. But
I don't think so.
But here's the deal: you were young, you were impressionable, it was so amazing. Oh my God, we're going to Broadway! What was it like crashing down on that Monday?
Oh my goodness! Well, first of all, the biggest argument I had was with my dad because I had convinced him that I should, leave school for a year and do this huge Broadway show that's going to run forever, and I'm going to make all this money, and I'm going to be famous. And they agreed, my parents agreed to let me do it. And then you can imagine the conversations I had with them after that, on that Monday.
Well.
So I ended up having to prove myself rather quickly, and I auditioned like crazy, and within a month I was traveling around the world with the international company of Dreamgirls.
Oh, wow. Who did you play?
I was in the ensemble, but I understudied Dina and Michelle.
Nice. So, in other words, you made it your bit. I mean, even though you had one setback, you auditioned, and since you've been working pretty steadily ever since, I believe, right?
Yes, I've been fortunate enough to have had a pretty busy career. I've been fortunate.
Did you ever have a day job in between, that Dreamgirls era and now? Did you ever have to work, a 9 to 5 or even a 9 to 2?
I actually did. I went one summer. I was working as do you remember answering services?
Of course.
Who would take your messages for you, and then you call in and they would deliver your messages. I worked in an answering service one summer. And then I also worked as a coat check girl. This was all in the same summer. And this was the summer prior to Once on This Island.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's still, what's wonderful about that is Once on This Island is 25 years ago now. So at least over the past 2 decades, it's all been about working. It's all been about doing what you love and what you're great at, which is kind of neat.
Yes, I've been fortunate. I really have been. I've been able to make a living doing this very difficult thing to do of acting and singing.
I mean, it's especially on my brain because just a few days ago, I was able to interview Tonya Pinkins. And here she was on Broadway. She won a Tony Award, and a few years later, she was on Public Assistance for a while. So,
wow.
Yeah, well, she had a divorce and kids, and it was not good. But in other words, why you people go through that too. You've been able to just coast along and do that.
Yes, again, I've been very fortunate. I also do a variety. I have a children's book that I've written. I'm producing a play. I spread out my talents. I try to do a variety of. I put my hand in a bunch of projects so that I can continue to thrive and stay interesting and relevant. And I just love what I do so much that I just think it's best to keep it interesting and fresh and new. So I love working with new kids and younger people and doing new projects. When I did If Then on Broadway, it was with a predominantly these new talents and working with them. So it's rather interesting, but it keeps me busy.
Yeah, we should mention, if I forgot to mention it before, If Then, which starred Idina Menzel, was kind of this sleeper hit that happened just 2 years ago on Broadway, and of course you were in that too. And you were in a 1995 revival of the Stephen Sondheim George First classic Company, where you got to sing basically only one song, but it was a monster, one of the big songs in the show, Another 100 People. And I have to say, I saw that, and I was very interested in your take on that, because, here you have a show that is known for its cast album, its original 1971, whatever it was, cast recording with these original artists that everybody loves and knows by heart. Now you have to go up there and sing a song that we all have in our heads from someone else, and do a completely different take on it. What was going through your heads when you had to sing Another 100 People?
Well, I tell you, I purposefully did not listen to that cast album prior. I knew of it, obviously, but I did not listen to it a lot because I know of the love and admiration for that CD, for that album and that show. And the only way I was able to approach it was to have a completely unique, fresh take on it.
And I have to say,
any other person, without having a voice in my head. Excuse me.
No, but what was kind of interesting is that in doing so, in the original, you have this kind of neurotic New York. Oh my God, it's overwhelming, and there's all these people, and they're crashing into each other, and they're not really connecting. They're just going on the street, and it's almost like neurotic Jewish New York terror of life. And you got up there with your big, enormous smile that you have, and suddenly it was a whole different thing. It was like, oh, wow, isn't New York unbelievable? Another 100 people just got on, and they're doing all these amazing things. And what a fantastic city of strangers this is. And I thought it was an interesting lesson on how you can take the same song and have a different spin on it.
Yeah, well, everyone has their different experience here in New York, and that was mine when I first got here. Honestly, I really just played myself on stage.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's really what I did with that role. So that was my perspective. Just all these different people, so many different people coming from so many different places. Because I'm from a rather small community, so New York was unbelievably thrilling to me when I first got here. So.
Well, when did the dream pop into you? Were you 5 years old? Were you 8 years old? When you were like, I know what I'm going to do, and I know where I want to be.
I've always known I wanted to perform since I was about 6, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. And we were living in Florida for most of my childhood, and then we moved to Connecticut, and I started watching those Broadway commercials on after the news and before dinner, and I then was like, Mom, I have to go see shows, and she started taking me to see musicals, and I said, this is it. This is where I'm going to live. I found it in a theater.
And at what point did not only you, but the people around you realize that you had the talent? Because anybody can go to a show and say, oh, I want to be on stage. But it takes somebody else to say, oh, wow, she can really sing. And she can dance too, etc.
Well, my mother says that I've always done this. If you ask my mother, she says there's nothing else she could have done. You couldn't have been an attorney. You couldn't have been a doctor. This is the only option for you. But so she says I've been doing this since I was a kid. I didn't know that. I thought that maybe I could be an attorney. At one point, I did want to become an attorney. I thought about going to law school.
Whoa! But
yeah, but from one summer job, I got.
Just the timing, that was what it was all about. And you went through a lot of training. I mean, you had your theater classes in university and stuff. What were some of the most important things you learned by going through university training in theater, as opposed to just jumping in or just having coaches and stuff?
Training, more than anything. Preparing my body, preparing my voice, preparing my mind, knowing that this was a full-time job. I mean, there's one thing It's one thing to say you just have talent and you can just naturally do certain things, but to learn how to sustain it 8 times a week, or to train your voice so that you don't get hoarse or push or injure yourself in dance, or really capture moments in your acting, that takes skill, and that takes a level of training that just doesn't come overnight. So I was grateful for my time at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia and what I learned there and what I could share with students. Sometimes I do master classes and I share with them the value of studying and learning, and I still study. Don't get me wrong. I still have moments. I have a coach, a vocal coach, and an acting coach, and when I need a tune-up, I go see them. Because you can, at times, you just want to know, make sure that everything is current and that that your work is fresh. And I value that. I think it's important to continue to do that.
Do you see yourself as a different kind of performer than you were 25, 30 years ago?
Yes, I am much more confident. Back then, I just worked very hard, and I wanted to be the shiniest apple in the bunch. So I just worked extremely hard, and I spent a lot of my days preparing myself for this industry. Now I sit back a little bit more, and I have less time to work. So I focus my energy on specific tasks, and I'm a little bit more confident in the choices that I make.
And it's interesting you mentioned the apple, because the fruit metaphor is a thing for you. You were asked in some interview for advice to budding performers and other people going into the industry. And you had a fruit metaphor there about grapes. Do you want to share that?
Oh, well, I use apples, I use oranges, I use bananas, I use flowers.
Kumquats! Use kumquats!
Kumquats. I just feel that, we are all very different. We all are unique. There are no two people alike. There are no two pieces of fruit alike. And sometimes the role may call for an orange, when in fact you're an apple or you're a grape. But instead of trying to turn yourself into an orange, just be the shiniest apple you can be, or the juiciest grape. But don't try to be something that you're not.
Exactly.
Finding out what you are is the key, though. That's the trick.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a sour, angry old man. I have to kind of play that. I'm kind of like a desiccated orange, I think would be the thing. That would be the closest. Desiccated and kind of horrible and starting to get crusty on the outside. I think that would be me more than anything else. We are talking, by the way, with LaChanze, which what it means, the chance in Creole. Is that the thing?
Yes, one who is charmed, to be exact.
One who is charmed. Now, is that on your birth certificate?
Yes, it is. It's my middle name on my birth certificate.
Oh, what's your actual first? I'm just curious.
Rhonda.
Rhonda. So it would have been Rhonda LaChanze. That's a nice name. Why did you go?
That's my name.
Did you reject Rhonda? Did you just go, nope, LaChanze is my name?
I just liked LaChanze more. I mean, LaChanze is it's my grandmother's name. It just has so much more character than Rhonda. Rhonda was a name that I loved, and it's common, and my family still calls me Rhonda. But LaChanze was unique. I didn't know any other LaChanzes other than my grandmother and my little cousin, and now it's my daughter's middle name.
Oh.
I just don't know any other LaChanzes, and I thought this would be a great name to have as my name other than Rhonda. So I decided to drop Rhonda and go with LaChanze. Yeah,
and it has been a good calling card for you, because you mentioned, you say Rhonda, it's like, well, Rhonda who? Rhonda this, right? But you say LaChanze, really there's only one we can think of. You.
And that was happening. Well, I'm glad to know that. Thank you.
Now, getting to a little bit of heavier stuff, in terms of, especially in the times in which we're living. Are you political at all?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I assume like 99.4% of the entertainment industry, you side towards the left, yes?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How are you managing, how are you coping with our current president and the Muslim man and all this?
I have to say, there was a time when I thought this isn't going to really last, like most of us thought. This can't possibly be the reality of our country. And now that we've gotten, I guess what we're a little bit into, almost a month in now, and as we see it's starting to spiral down a little bit. Things are getting pretty hectic over there. I just keep waiting for the shoe to drop. I just feel that this cannot possibly continue this way without there being some catastrophic problem in our government. So I'm a little nervous. I'm afraid for us, and I hope that it doesn't happen, but I feel like there's going to be something dramatic that's going to happen, and the shoe is going to drop.
I know you're talking, I assume, or I hope, internally in the government, not like North Korea is going to bomb California or something, but you mean just...
No. I think there are enough people in the government that will rally together against anything like that seriously getting any close to that happening. But I do believe that there's going to be a shift politically. There has to be. We cannot continue this way. There are too many smart people that are working within the government.
But let me play the devil's advocate for a moment, because one of the big things that the left is solidifying against is this idea, silly idea kind of these 7 countries on a Muslim ban. Would it be fair to say, though, that you might have a different take on this because you were directly affected by Meshuggah crazy Muslims?
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, it will remind the audience that you lost your husband on 9/11. He was in the World Trade Center. You were 8 months pregnant when it happened. So can you see the other side of it? Can you see the reason to ban people from Muslim countries coming here?
Well, I can see that we would need to do a little bit more scrutinizing of who comes in. A complete ban on all Muslim people, I completely reject. But I do wish that there was some sort of way to just scrutinize who is coming in before they're here. And I have to say, these countries that we're banning people from aren't the countries that have attacked us. So I don't understand why we aren't banning people from the countries that have actually attacked us in the past.
That's what I mean. Yeah, Saudi Arabia should probably be on the friggin' list.
Yes,
if there's got to be a list. How did you? I mean, it is a heavy subject, and you have been open about this and talking about this, and that it helped that you had already a daughter when you were going through 9/11. What the hell was that like? I mean, I was in New York at that point too, but not affected in the way that you were.
Well, I tell you, I didn't want to leave my apartment in Riverdale. I contemplated not leaving that beautiful view of the Palisades and staying right up there in my cozy apartment and with my daughters forever. That's how devastated I was. But unfortunately, you can't live like that. You got to get back out in the world and get to it. But it was devastating.
You could have moved to California and gone like the sitcom, the L.A. route for television instead of theater. Did that occur to you?
It did, but my children's paternal grandparents live here. And I didn't want to take them away from the connection with their father's family. I didn't want to take them away from them. I wanted them to at least have some of his bloodline around them, even though, my family's not here, but his is. And I wanted them to know their aunts and to know their uncle and to know their grandmother on his side. So I chose to stay in New York.
Was it easier or harder for you at that time? Because everybody was in mourning, per se. All of New York, all of the country was on some level in shock and mourning for weeks after the World Trade Center. Did you feel somehow shortchanged because you were directly, personally mourning? Or was it actually kind of cool because everyone you looked at was traumatized?
At the time, it was comforting because I didn't have to explain why I would burst into tears in random places. People sort of got it. But now, it's different because I wish I could have more privacy with it now. Now, it's still, for so many people, the way that they grieve is by reaching out to me on 9/11. And I would like to have a private moment with that and my girls and not make it such a big deal. Even in their school, everywhere that they go, 9/11 is a national day of mourning, and it's also the day that we mourn the loss of our loved ones. So I feel two ways about it. I being a New Yorker, everyone has a 9/11 story. So when I meet with people and they know of my story, they share their story with me. What they're not aware of, which is completely fine, is that it dredges up the most horrible day in my life for me. So it's hard for me to listen
Wow.
those moments, even though I do, but then it takes me back to the fact that now my daughters are 15 and soon to be 17, and they're going through adolescence and all of the issues of teenagers at this age and preparing for college and all these things, and I'm doing it as a single mom. And these are tough times for me. And this is when I really miss my husband, because now I would rather not be the bad person all the time. I would rather not be the disciplinarian. I would, rather if my daughters had someone else to talk to about things other than me all the time. So these are moments that I really miss him. And when I hear things like, this ban on people from countries that where the attackers didn't come from, it infuriates me.
Wow. Wow, I love that you're being so honest about this. And there's a private and a public, and sometimes you don't want that to intersect with these things. Although, was it at least somewhat cathartic for you in 2014 when they asked you? And you actually have a funny story about that, where you ended up singing "Amazing Grace" and you weren't even supposed to sing "Amazing Grace."
I wasn't even supposed to sing.
Oh,
Tina Menzel was supposed to sing.
Well, she was asked to be at the memorial thing, and you went, and you were supposed to sing. What were you going to do again?
Bridge Over Troubled Water. But the deal was, Dina and I were doing this. We were in performance for It Then the night before at the theater, and she got ill and had to go home. And before she left the theater, she said, "Oh my God, tomorrow I'm supposed to sing at the opening of the 9/11 museum, and I'm too sick." And she turned around and looked at me, and she said, "LaChanze, can you do it for me?" And it was one of those moments where you feel like, there was divine intervention, because she turned around and asked me, a 9/11 widow, to sing at the opening of the 9/11 memorial. And I didn't even know she was doing it. It was that quick.
Whoa.
I didn't even know. She was just complaining about her voice. She was losing her voice. And I was more concerned about my friend being sick than the fact that she had this performance the next day. So when she asked me to do it, I just said yes. I didn't really, digest what she had asked me to do until I was walking into the building with my daughters. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be heavier than I thought.
And at what point did you realize that, not only that you had to digest that and realize what you were doing personally but you had to change your song and do an a cappella version of "Amazing Grace" instead of "Bridge Over Troubled Water"? Were you told that?
Well, the ensemble that were scheduled to play "Bridge Over Troubled Water," we were in the car on the way to the museum. And they told me that the ensemble was not prepared to play it in any different key. And they would have had to change the key for me.
Oh, boy, yeah.
They asked, "Can you sing it a cappella?" And I said, "No, I cannot. It's not that kind of song." They said, "Well, can you sing something else?" And I said, "What about Amazing Grace?" And they said, "Perfect."
And so doing that, I assume you didn't regret the experience, even though it was fraught, and certainly a million things must have been going through your head. It was the right thing for you to do, yes?
Yes, it was. It was the best thing for me to do in that moment.
Nice. Now,
there was, given the fact that I had just gotten this information the night before, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, my goodness.
As always, that's New York City. Given the fact that I was just asked to do it the night before, like I said, I needed to do something that was easily accessible for me, without too much stress and preparation. And that was something that I just happened to sing all the time, or have sung quite a bit.
Actually, that brings us to another question. I read somewhere that at least at some point in your life you were praying at least like twice a day, that you're pretty religious. Are you still?
I do. I pray all the time. I wouldn't say I'm religious. I would definitely say I pray, though.
Why?
Because religion, I do belong to a church, though. I will say I am religious, but not very religious in terms of, I don't walk around and insist that everyone believes the way that I believe, and that there's only one way to heaven, and I just don't, I don't ascribe to that. I believe that, this is my way. I believe that, in my own faith, I have very strong faith, and I believe that God is with me everywhere I go. So I do pray. I pray all the time. Sometimes I pray more than twice a day. God is like my it sits in my passenger seat.
No, okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm a rabbi and I'm almost an atheist, so you never know with these things. I was just curious.
Yeah, I do, but I definitely believe that there is a higher force that lives and exists in and around us.
But even did you go through a crisis of faith? I promise this is the last 9/11 question, but that wouldn't that have shaken your belief system?
It totally did, completely did. For a while, I remember my pastor calling me to talk, and I asked him point blank, "How could God let this happen to me? I'm a good person. I didn't do anything wrong." These are the kinds of beliefs that we have. That if we do the right thing, if we live right, and we treat people well, and we don't lie, and we're honest, then good will come back to you. And then this horrible thing happened to me. It tested my faith, and then it also, I like to say, it grew me up in my faith and helped me to understand that, in the world, there is God's will and there's our will, and we're subject to all of it, which is why we can have so much devastation in the world. And people say, well, then if there's a God, how can there be starving babies in Africa? And then we have to think about how we got to that place. And so I came to terms with it, with my understanding of God and my understanding of faith, and I do believe that God exists, but I do believe we fall under the will of man as well.
That's a very rational, logical way of looking at religion. I'm going to have to do that at some point. I'm going to have to rethink my thoughts on religion. Now, I promised, and I keep my promise, not another 9/11 question, but I do have another tragedy question. You were in 2 different TV series with Bill Cosby. Did you have any inkling that, Fat Albert was doing some hey things that he shouldn't have?
I gotta tell you, Mr. Cosby was, to me, one of the most gentle, loving, generous, funny men in my life. He was so warm and so supportive that I was shocked when I heard all of these allegations, because I have been to his house. He offered me a glass of water. No one else was there. And we talked about the character, and then he sent me on my way. So,
and how old were you at that point? I'm sorry, how old were you at that point?
This was during Cosby Mysteries. So I have to say I was early 20s, maybe 23, 24.
Okay, so you were, and it's not like you woke up 8 hours later and were,
No.
Nothing, huh?
Not even close. So, I even tried to go back and scrutinize, moments on set and moments when he did invite me to his home to discuss the character and discuss development of the character and everything. And, I thought it was fantastic. I had this one-on-one session with Mr. Cosby, and I felt lucky to have this opportunity. But in retrospect, nothing happened to me, and I guess I felt lucky for that too, because there's nothing, not even remotely close, was he in any way offensive or out of line with me.
Well,
I'm one of the women that can attest to that. Now, I can't speak for any of these other women, and it's terrible that those things happen, but it didn't happen to me.
That's fair. I mean, there's always another side to these things. If he were raping every woman who came across, they'd be in the hundreds. So thank God you were, the luck. And who knows? Maybe it's still nothing has been proven, but it's just so many people are lining up that you wonder.
So sad. It's so sad. It's I was talking about this to someone the other day because they were asking me about working on The Cosby Show, and I said, I went to the prom with Theo. And there used to be a time when you can talk about Theo and The Cosby Show, and it didn't have this negative feeling around it. But now you can even say it out loud without people looking at you like you were tainted somehow.
Well, I will say that there was this one time that Camilla molested me. Just kidding. I'm just teasing. Not true. Not true. Now, I don't even know what that means. We're talking a couple more minutes with the delightful LaChanze, who, by the way, has this extended play album coming out this way. That's one of the reasons she's doing the show that she's doing at the Highline Ballroom on February 27th. That's over on West 16th Street. And by the way, if you want to get tickets, highlineballroom.com, highlineballroom.com. So tell us, what's on the new EP, and what are you doing in concert?
Well, the EP is basically just a taste of what the concert is. I wanted to give my guests a little token as they left the theater. My special guests, I want to give them a little download card with 3 of the songs from the evening. But the evening is basically my life through selected songs. So I'm starting from my childhood with the opening title song, Feeling Good. And I'm taking the audience on a journey through select moments. Some of the moments we've discussed here on your show. I'm actually highlighting these moments in song, and some of the deeper moments, some of the moments that are a lot lighter, some of them that are hilarious. There's a moment where I discuss a man that came into my life after my husband passed away, and how treacherous and horrible he was. And a friend of mine wrote a gut bucket blues about it, and I cannot wait to sing that for the audience.
Now let's be clear about that. Was this because you got married again? You were married and then you divorced to.
Yes.
Is that the bad gut bucket guy, or is this someone else?
Oh no, that's definitely him.
Oh. But you worked on a movie. He produced a movie. You worked on together. What did he do that was so terrible?
Oh, he produced it. I paid for it. And never got paid back.
Well, but you were married. It's mutual money, isn't it?
Sometimes.
Oh boy. Was that the only? So it was money that came between you, or was it something else? Or
no, it wasn't the money that came between us. That was one of the things. He was a dishonest person. It wasn't just the money. He was just dishonest. He had a separate life that I didn't know about.
Oh boy. Oh, okay. I got you. So he went and seduced Bill Cosby. See, it's all connected. No, I'm kidding. But so it's been a couple of years. You've been single again. Have you been dating? Are you out there? Is there somebody special in your life now?
I have been entertaining the affections of the opposite sex.
I love the way you put this. Okay.
I'm having a good time. I mean, there are some great guys out here. I'm having a good time.
And yeah.
Some really cool guys. Yeah, really nice guys.
So you're not settling down yet. You're going to play the field a little, have a little fun, keep it casual. Yes.
Well, let's just say I'm not looking to get married anytime soon.
That's fair. And your kids are old enough. They can see, Mama can have her life again, Doesn't have to be serious.
Yes. I'm actually waiting until they're out of the house to consider settling down again. But right now, I have my hands full. I really do. I've got 2 teenagers that are about to go off to college, and I'm writing and producing my own show right now, so we're a little busy at my house. Yeah,
you mentioned that you're producing a play, right? Tell us about this play that you're producing.
It's called A Reunion in Bartersville, and what it is, it's a whodunit, and it's set on a group of African-American senior citizens that come together for their 50th high school class reunion. One of their classmates passed away in high school, and we find out at the reunion who done it.
Ooh. Is it a musical or just a comedy or what?
It's a straight play. Straight comedy. Mm-hmm.
So how far along are you, if you don't mind my asking? Do you have a draft done? Where are you in the process?
I've had 2 readings so far, and we're rewriting the ending right now so that we can present it again to try to get into one of the off-Broadway houses here. And they want me to rework on the ending and then present it again for the potential backers.
Nice. Oh, my.
Fantastic production. I have an amazing cast. It's just very good. I'm excited about it.
Can you say who's in the cast, or is that a secret still, or what?
Well, I'm hoping they'll continue to re-sign, but right now we have Anthony Chisholm, who's starring in Jitney on Broadway.
Yes, wow.
And, and we have Lizanne Mitchell and Larry Marshall, and just a bunch of really wonderful actors.
Well, speaking of wonderful and wonderful actors, it has been wonderful talking to LaChanze. That was so talented, so fun. Go see her, for gosh sakes, on February 27th at the Highline Ballroom. Again, remember, you can get tickets, highlineballroom.com. Highlineballroom.com. She'll be doing these songs, and I want to give you one last question before you go, because you've been so much fun. I'm going to ask a fun question, no tragedy, nothing bad here.
Okay.
Do you still love to cook?
Oh, yes, every day. Yes. In fact, my crock pot today, I put a bunch of good stuff in the crock pot this morning, and I can't wait to get home and smell the delicious aromas in my kitchen.
Is it a brisket? Maybe some borscht? What do you got in there?
It's actually a little bit of a stew. It's a turkey stew. It's a turkey with black-eyed peas and kale and sweet potatoes and onion and carrots. It's just a big, thick stew.
So what time should I come over? Just kidding.
Well,
just teasing.
At another hour. Another hour in the crock pot.
Well, it has been delightful spending almost an hour with you, LaChanze. We wish you certainly health and success and good things and good fun with your men. More entertainment there, but also lots of music, success with your the play that you're working on, and everything else that is in your life. Thank you so much for joining us in the neighborhood.
Thank you so much, and mazel tov.
Thank you. Shalom to you.
Shalom.